BC च पुराने रेजिडेंशियल स्कूल वाली साइट तो 93 संभावी कबरां मिलन दा ब्रिटिश कोलंबिया फर्स्ट नेशन वालों ऐलान किया गया। विलियम्स लेक फर्स्ट नेशन अनुसार पिछे ਜਿਹੇ करवाए गए सर्वेखण दौरान जमीन भेदी रडार की वरतों दौरान इन्हां कबरां की होंद का पता चलिया। विलियम्स लेक फर्स्ट नेशन के चीफ विली सिलार्ज ने एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस दौरान यह भी कहा कि कई दहाकियां तक सानू सेंट जोसफ मिशन विखे बच्चों नाल कीते जाने वाले शोषण दी खबरां मिलदियां रहियां। इस दौरान सानू कई बच्चों के मरण जां गायब होने दी खबरां भी मिलियां ने।
As is the case with many other residential schools in Canada, the real story of what occurred at the St. Joseph's Mission has been intentionally obscured. There is clear evidence that religious entities, the federal government, and the RCMP have knowingly participated in the destruction of records and the cover-up of criminal allegations. For decades, there were reports of neglect and abuse at the St. Joseph's Mission, and worse, there were reports of children dying or disappearing from the facility. For the bulk of St. Joseph's Mission history, these reports were at best given no credence. At worst, there was something darker going on in an effort to suppress the emergence of the truth. In May of 2021, Tecumseh's Dissequepment announced the gruesome discovery of over 200 unmarked graves at the former site of the Kamloops Indian Residential School. The announcement shocked people across the world, jarring many in the public sphere who had not heard of the residential school system. Questions began to pour in. How did this happen? How could the public not know? At Tecumseh, many former students knew the tales of missing children and were aware that there were graves dug for their bodies at the school, but no one believed them. The Tecumseh discovery forced Canadians to acknowledge the reality of residential schools, and that our country had for decades been misled and lied to by religious officials, the federal government, and the RCMP. People were outraged, saddened, and spurred into action. Politicians and public alike scrambled for answers to how Canada was going to reconcile with its First Nations people with regard to Indian residential schools. But there can be no reconciliation before there is truth. A truthful account must be told of the former students' residential school experience, acknowledging the harm of colonial educational practices, recognizing the former students' intrinsic right to the cultural and spiritual practices outlawed by government and religious institutions, and by restoring the familial history lost at the grounds of the mission. The efforts to investigate and reconcile the deaths and disappearances of children at these institutions must be through the leadership of First Nations people and First Nations communities. Today, we have commitment from federal and provincial governments that the investigation into the St. Joseph's Mission will continue through the Williams Lake First Nation, and this is a critical milestone in our path toward reconciliation. And so, over the last 9 months, WLFN has embarked on a journey to seek that truth, so that the survivors or the quoms, the champions, the living ones, can be validated and recognized in the telling of their truths. And so that the atrocities which occurred at the St. Joseph's Mission and across the residential school system in Canada can finally come to light.